Hello, and thanks for joining me for a guide to SMS marketing. So, SMS marketing is going to teach you how to increase your reach, how to increase your revenue, and how to reduce your churn. So, this is why I decided to make this because honestly, we've had some awesome experiences with SMS marketing, and I'm doubling down on this. I believe that in the next year to 2 years, every store, every online store is going to want to have SMS marketing in place, and the best time to start is now. But there are some things that we have to take into consideration, some things that we have learned along the way that I'd like to share with you that's going to help you really improve your SMS marketing experience and setup. So, what we're going to cover today, the first question is email marketing dead? I hear that often, and I've got a lot to say about it. So you're going to want to hear that. The other question is, how do you reach your subscribers, right? So using SMS marketing, how does this work, right? And what frequency are we using, etc. What are the best platforms to use? You know, there's Attentive, there's Klaviyo, there's Postscript, there's SMS Bump. There's several platforms out there that are very competitive, and I'll talk to you a little bit about things that you have to consider because while you'll be able to do the basics in most of these platforms, each one has its pros and its cons. I won't go through them all, but I'll just focus on things that you're going to want to think about when you're going to choose the platform that you're going to use for this. Compliance and how we get more opt-ins. This is super important. The laws around SMS marketing are very different than the laws around email marketing. And this video is made specifically for people in the United States because every country seems to have its own laws, right? Even every state within the United States does too. So this is kind of tricky. Some things that we assume are not necessarily true. Now, obviously, I'm not a lawyer, so you're going to want to check all of the legal and compliance stuff with your legal department. But for the most part, there are some general guidelines that we can review. Types of messages. What a lot of people don't realize is they think that SMS is purely text, but we have SMS and we have MMS. So when we send a multimedia message, it's a little different from SMS. And we'll talk about a little bit about that. We'll also talk about sending automations or as they call it in Klaviyo, flows versus campaigns. And then at the end, we'll talk about developing a custom action plan on where you are now and what you need to do today. So without further ado, a little bit about me. Who am I and why should you listen to me? Well, I've been in the digital space for about 10 years and I'll try to make this really quick, 10 years. So I was building websites in WordPress. Later on, I went on to become a full stack developer. Graduated from Ironhack's bootcamp. After that, I started to work for other marketing. I started to work for a marketing agency. I became their email marketing manager. From there, I went on to a small business lending company where I headed up their email marketing department. And then after that, I just broke out on my own and I found WeClick Group, where we focus specifically on email and SMS marketing. So I have a lot of experience over the years working in email marketing. I'm talking about way back when MailChimp was launched. I was working in email marketing. Later on, I've worked with small businesses. I've worked with worldwide organizations such as Dormakaba, where I help them with their email marketing just as a supportive consultant. And, you know, really, my specialty has become working with e-commerce stores. That's really where I have focused on over the past 3 to 5 years about. So I've assisted dozens of stores with email marketing. Many of them have been either on the Shopify platform or the WooCommerce platform. And basically, we've had tremendous success in that area. And I'll share a little bit about about that as well as we go on. But basically, we have been able to generate anywhere between 25 to 50% of revenue coming from email. And for those of you who are familiar with e-commerce or are in the e-commerce world, you'll know that the real profits, the real money is made on the back end, as they say. So it's made in the email marketing world because the cost to acquire your client is much lower, right? So it's more about you've acquired them at the top of your funnel, and then we have them coming back and purchasing it again. That's why the ROI on email marketing is so high. So I hope that that was enough, and we're going to go on to what we do as a team. As I said earlier, we're e-commerce focused, and the way that we're structured is different from other agencies in that our team is made up of highly specialized individuals. So the way that we're structured is other than just having an account manager and a project manager, we also have strategists. We have Klaviyo administrators. We have designers. We have copywriters. And we have this team of people because what we find is that more often than not, most agencies just have account managers, and those account managers wear many hats. And what ends up happening is that the quality of the work is not that great because you may be a great designer, but doesn't mean you're a great copywriter. You may be a great designer and copywriter, but doesn't mean that you're a good strategist. You don't understand segmentation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that kind of makes us unique. We're on a mission to change the world by helping online stores grow. A lot of people ask me, how do you do that? And it's basically by the more that we're supporting these online stores, we are basically changing the economy. We're changing the way that people shop, and even within our own agency, we're giving opportunity to people around the world to work for us that are talented individuals, but in their countries they wouldn't be able to find the type of jobs that we have. So yes, we are a virtual agency, and it works very well. So let's start off. Is email marketing dead? The short answer is no, email marketing is not dead. What we find with email marketing is that more often than not, there's many stores out there who are already making anywhere between 5 to 6 figures per month, but they don't have their email marketing dialed in. And they don't try it, they don't believe in it, or they've tried it themselves. It's a cumbersome process. It is not an easy process to set up your email marketing and do it right. And they kind of give up on it. And what they're doing is they're leaving money on the table. If you're able to really get 25, 30, 40, 50% of your revenue from email, your profit margins are very high. So the advantages to email marketing is really the return on investment. It's not going to cost you as much money to get a conversion through email marketing as it is through, say, Facebook or Google Ads. So the cost is much lower. You have a medium to communicate and nurture your customers through over and over again, but it has its shortcomings. So what kind of shortcomings are we talking about? Reach, primarily. The problem is, on a good day, I'll give you a ballpark figure because every industry is different, but say that you have a 20 to 25% open rate, that's considered successful. That's the amount of people that actually open your email from that send. So what happens is we have to ask the question, what happens to the other 80 to 75% that didn't open the email? And then what a lot of companies have tried doing is they try sending over and over again multiple emails because they may have not gotten them on the first time, but they'll get them on the 5th. But the problem is that when they do that, it becomes spam. Open rates go down, and then their sender reputation gets blacklisted, and then to pull that person out of the spam folder is a hard job. We've done it before, but it's not fun. So you definitely don't want to do that. So the shortcomings that email has is reach, and the answer is SMS marketing, because SMS marketing has an open rate above 90%. So you're reaching everybody, right? So I would not abandon email marketing. Not everybody likes to be contacted via SMS. As we see this unfold with time, I believe that the roles may change a little bit, whereas the true branding actually happens in email marketing. Because you get to nurture your audience, you get to create a relationship with your audience. Facebook is even playing with getting into the email marketing game, kind of like an email marketing game, because as we look at what they're doing moving forward in the next 5 years or so, they want to create an ecosystem a lot like Amazon's, where there's going to be a lot of online purchases taking place on their system, and the messaging is going to happen right on that system as well. So basically, branding is going to be super important to email, whereas we don't believe that you're going to nurture people as much through SMS marketing, right? And the truth is that branding is the one thing that you really should be focusing on, other than just providing a great product. And that's because, anyone can create a great product like yours, or someone else can come out with another product. But really, the difference between why someone is going to buy from one store or another, when either way it's convenient, really is just going to boil down to branding, the relationship, right, that you create with your customer. So email becomes super important in that world, and we'll talk about email on another time, because I can really get deep into that. So let's talk a little bit about SMS. Why mobile, right? A lot of people ask, what's so special about it? Well, we live in a mobile first world already. So you got 92% of people in the United States can be reached over text. Over 90% of text messages are opened within 3 minutes. So just think about that for a second. You have over a 90% open rate on text. On average, 67% of traffic going to e-commerce sites are coming from mobile phones. Folks, that's huge. And I'm sure if you look at your Google Analytics, for some of you, that number is even higher. So in 2021, the percentage of sales that are expected to surpass 53% coming from mobile. Okay? And over 69% of sales during Black Friday in 2019 came from a mobile device. So this is really huge. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. Everyone is on their mobile phone, and that is where the business is taking place. So if you look at your traffic, the U.S. e-commerce traffic split, 67% on mobile, 33% on desktop. We manage stores that are actually more above 70% already that are coming from mobile. And then, the e-commerce mobile sales from 2017 to 2021 have just steadily increased over time. And it doesn't look like that's going to stop anytime soon. So we're definitely in a mobile first world. The question is, how can we profit from that as e-commerce store owners? One of the biggest objections that I get from people, from store owners, when we talk about SMS marketing is, do people really want to get my SMS messages? Do they really want to know about my sale, like on their phone? Is it too invasive? The truth is that the statistics speak for themselves. If you look at the percentage of people who have opted in, 62.7% of people are already receiving SMS messages from stores. Another 16% have opted in already, but they don't receive any messages. Another 18.3% said that it depends. They really have to get the right message. And only 3% completely say that they're not interested. So if you're really into a brand, if you're really into a product, you want to receive those messages. The majority of the people want to receive it. So the cadence that you use and the messages that you send are going to be of utmost importance to making this channel work. But believe me, it can work. Let's talk a little bit about compliance and opt-in. So, as I mentioned earlier, the laws around SMS marketing are very strict. They're different than the laws than email marketing, right? Email marketing has something that's called implied consent. So if I go onto a store and I make a purchase and I enter my email address, even if I don't click the subscribe me to your newsletter box, I give you my email address and I submitted, that means that I now have I've given you implied consent to email me. And those emails, a lot of them may be automated, and some may not be. So, there was a time when email marketing was huge. Open rates were much higher and much more profitable, but because everyone started to send, inboxes became cluttered, and now we're lucky to have a 20% open rate. So the compliance around SMS marketing is very different. And the great thing is that a lot of these platforms, Klaviyo, Postscript, Attentive, all of them, they actually take this compliance very seriously. So Klaviyo, for example, timestamps when a person consented, right? And the Postscript, if you're going to upload a list to Postscript, you actually sign a waiver saying that list that has consented and it's verified. Because if you get caught uploading a bogus list, the penalties are about $400 per email per phone number that you're uploading there. So compliance is super important. And then some of the ways around this, or some of the good ways to get people to opt into your email, are going to include these pop-ups, right? So when you go to a website, you might have a pop-up that says, say subscribe and get $30 off of your purchase. If you want your coupon, click here, enter your phone number and enter your email, and we'll send it over to you. There's another way where you actually confirm directly on your phone. That's actually the fastest way to do it and the easiest way to do it. So far, obviously, what you're going to want to do is you're going to have a pop-up, right? Where people are going to get to your website, whether it be on their phone or on a desktop, and they have the option to opt in with their email and their phone number. So that's number one. That's the first way that you're going to want to get them to opt in. Text to subscribe is what we see right now to be the best, the best, highest converting way to capture a phone number. And what you're going to want to do then is, if you're already operating, which I'm sure most of you already are, you have an email list. You're going to want to create a campaign where you're going to let everyone on that email list know about your SMS marketing program, and more often than not, you'll have to make them some type of an offer for them to opt into that. And then you could drive them to a landing page and you say, hey, here's the form, fill out this form, consent, we're going to send this to you. And then that's at that point you capture their email address. They'll get a coupon or whatever, a gift with their next purchase, whatever it may be. And then the third way that we recommend people to grow their list when it comes to SMS is with social media. So if you have a social media presence, you're going to want to put that out there. You're going to want to let people know, hey, you're going to want to opt into this. You don't want to miss out on this. We have a great program going on. All you have to do is text us, subscribe to this phone number, and we'll include you in that. There are a few nuances here to take into consideration. The first one is that more often than not, if you look on your screen, you see it says text PAWRAM to 29691. If you have a number like that, that's called a vanity number. Those numbers are usually a little bit more expensive, or a lot of bit more expensive. But they're also, the carriers will not flag them ever. And this is a lot like email, right? In the sense that emails have to warm up. A lot of people don't know that, but when you have a new email domain, right? So we have like WeClickGroup.com. Right out the gate, if we were to try to send 1,000 emails in our first day, they would get flagged by email providers like Google, and then they would either shut us down or get sent to spam. There's a similar thing that happens when in the SMS world. There are, and unfortunately, there's already people out there that are abusing the power of SMS. And one of the ways around that is getting either a vanity number, an 800 number, which is a nice medium in between getting a vanity number and just using the free one that the providers give you, because more often than not, that 800 number will go out and will reach the phone, right? This has a lot to do with carriers, and we're going to see how this develops over time, But yes, very important. Now, what kind of messages should I send? Well, when it comes to the types of messages that you send, really, you, like all things in marketing, you're going to have to A/B test what you think your audience is going to like. We have one store right now that is really doing great with SMS, and they're doing great with very short messages that just have a link to their sale, or to the landing page for that sale. That's working great for them. We have other ones that have a little bit of a lighter tone, more comedy involved, and people, I guess, they laugh, they click through, and they move on. So you're going to want to test that. Basically, what you can do in SMS is you can divide this into automations and campaigns. And what's the difference? The difference is automations are based on user behavior. So if you have a user that comes onto your website, they behave a certain way, say they abandon a cart, then they're going to receive a text, right? Those are automations. Welcome, the welcome series, the abandoned cart, stuff like that. The other one are your campaigns. Now, what we usually do in email is, at a minimum, we do 4 emails a month, right? That would normally be for a store that's starting off. So not every email is a sale. We strongly recommend people don't do that. It cheapens the brand. And if you're on sale, you're never on sale. If you're on sale all the time, then you're never on sale. And what ends up happening is people who would normally buy from you don't, because they're just waiting for the next sale. So what we find is that we normally run a sale every 4 to 6 weeks, right? And we make sure that SMS is included in that sale. So that seems to work very well, as does product launches. So we announce the product launches through SMS. We also build up the excitement to them. We also give them the opportunity to opt in for special news about that specific product that will launch. And that's almost going to guarantee a sale if you're nurturing that person all the way through. So, really those campaigns are structured behind what you have going on and behind your product and your community. So, for example, if you sell supplements and you have a crowd or a group of people who may be really into health and benefits, you might want to do just like an item and give them information on an item that they would most likely be interested in based on their previous purchases. So there's a lot that can go into that. The idea is that you can split these up. You don't have to send one every week. You do have to test it just like everything else. And you have to be very careful and always, look at the benchmarks. Make sure that your unsubscribe rate is not too high. Look at how the conversions are working out, et cetera, et cetera. Based on where you are now, what do you need to do now? So I think that you need to ask yourself, does your current ESP, email service provider, does it provide SMS? I think that would be the first place to look. The problem that we've come across is that sometimes they do, but they don't really fit well with what you're trying to do. It depends on your platform. We have seen stores that are built on WooCommerce that are using Opt-in Monster as a pop-up, and they're using Klaviyo as an email service provider. That has caused issues because Opt-in Monster is not native to Klaviyo, and Klaviyo does not merge the profiles. So what that means is if you think that you're just going to add a phone number to a form from Opt-in Monster, and someone goes onto the website and they give you their phone number, Opt-in Monster has no way of letting Klaviyo know that that person was already opted in through email, and it's not going to merge the profiles. So you need to take that into consideration. I'm not saying that not to use Klaviyo. What I'm saying is you may need to change your pop-up, for example, to make that work. Then the question is, how are you going to deal with people who come onto your website that have already opted into email, right? So what are they going to see? How are you going to convince them? And like I mentioned in the beginning, there's pros and there's cons to all of this. So Klaviyo has incredible predictive analytics technology, right? Where it can turn around and predict when a person's going to make their next purchase based on either that person's behavior, and if they don't have enough data on that person's behavior, I mean, if the person hasn't purchased enough, but they have enough data from the whole database, they can use averages on that person. So using a post-purchase flow for someone using SMS means you're really gonna be able to hit them. The great thing about that is that when you do that, say that a person is scheduled, or you know that they're going to make their purchase every 3 months, and you hit them with either an email or an SMS or both, hopefully both, a week before their purchase, and you start nurturing that, you're taking them to the sale. That is going to increase the likelihood that they're not going to churn. The problem with churn is that people will go and they'll look for another brand, or another brand will get in front of them in an ad. And then if that brand has sold them a product that's a good product and with a good experience, the chances of you getting that person back are very slim. So some of the other things to consider: how are you collecting the phone numbers? Earlier, I was talking about how to collect phone numbers, right? How to get people to opt in. And every system is different. Klaviyo does not allow you to have the person consent to SMS marketing at checkout. You have to take them to an embedded form. It's different, right? I mean, you can do it. You just have to use an embedded form. You have to talk to your developers about that. Whereas I know, for example, PostScript has that capability. So you're going to want to take those things into consideration as well. MailChimp, as far as I know, is not using SMS as of the time of this recording. OmniSend does offer SMS. I know that OmniSend's system is very much like Klaviyo, but we have not had the opportunity to actually test their SMS system. So, but that may be a great option. So right now, you have to decide which is the provider that you're going to go with, right? And take a look and say, will it be Klaviyo? Are you on Klaviyo? Are you on OmniSend? Are you on, MailChimp? Is Klaviyo's SMS service robust enough for what I need? One of the issues that we had with Klaviyo was attribution. So you want to make sure that, because the way that Klaviyo does their attribution is it tracks what people do according to their profile that's connected directly to their email address, not their phone number. So if they have two different profiles and one with a phone number, you're not going to know what your attribution is. That's a problem. So you're going to want to look at all of these things. The other thing is your pop-up, right? More often than not, most of the successful stories out there have an email pop-up, right? They usually have a shadow box and they're offering you something in return for your email address. You need to, even if you're not doing SMS marketing, it's our recommendation to include an optional phone number field there. Just put phone number and then in parentheses put optional, because you want to capture as many as you can. In a year or two, you're going to regret not having done that now. So it's definitely worth doing. Measuring the conversion on your pop-up is super important. You're going to want to look at your pop-up and you're going to want to say, okay, right now it's converting at 4%. We added the optional thing. It's not conversions dropped to 2%. In that case, you take it off, create a secondary pop-up, do whatever you have to do, right? But make sure that you're measuring that. And then the third question is, who's going to run your SMS? I know a lot of people out there already have the experience that running email marketing, they thought it was going to be easy. They figured, let's curate some content, or let's just throw on an email real quick, drag and drop, and we'll send it out. And it doesn't really work well that way. You really need a process there. You really need, with SMS, you're really going to need a good copywriter, someone who really is going to know your brand. You should have a calendar just like you do for email, just like you do for social media, so that you're aware of everything that you're doing, and it's a cohesive strategy, really. So, if you have the time to do it yourself, that's great. But really, you have to decide now, like, okay, well, who's going to be in charge of this, and do they have the skills to do this? So I hope I unpacked that for you well, and you have a good idea of how SMS works and how it should work. If you need help with any of this, we've already been working with these systems for over a year. We've been doing A/B testing. We've taken a look at what works, what doesn't work, how to plan out a really good strategy behind both email and SMS. And I just wanted to highlight a few things here. When you hire an agency that is experienced, you already know that, especially in the e-commerce space, they're not going to just send they're not just going to send SMSs to everyone and pray that it works. I mean, there's a strategy behind this. There's a strategy that we develop in order to collect the SMS phone numbers as well, to get people to opt in. One thing I didn't mention earlier that is very important: when you add the phone number field to your pop-up, you need to update your terms of service and privacy policy. And most of the ESPs out there that you can use for this will provide you with a generic one. Of course, you can take that to your legal department and have them look it over. But if you don't have that on your site, you're not compliant. And again, that can be a serious problem. So people who know what they're doing, agencies who have who already have experience in this, that can optimize your campaigns. I'm going to focus on branding, on revenue. I mentioned it before. It's all strategic, and then we know what brand works, what messaging works with what brand, and when an MMS, a multimedia message, is going to be something that is going to be effective or not. And of course, an agency is always going to be big about attribution, tracking, making sure that all the KPIs are being met, making sure that your phone numbers aren't being blocked by carriers as well. So an example that I have of this is a company that we work with, African Fly, AfricanFly.com. This is an herbal aphrodisiac, right? And it's meant actually for men and women. This company's in the supplements industry, health and nutrition, but because of the nature of the product, they can't advertise on TikTok and Facebook. So the way that they drive most of their clients to the website, or customers to the website, is really through influencer relationship building, where they're giving health advice to people, and they introduce the product. However, nurturing that is very difficult, because getting the people to come back at a given time, say on a YouTube channel, is difficult. So two mediums that we use for this are both email and SMS marketing. And we did this for them using Klaviyo and PostScript. And we found that that really worked well. And what we're finding is that 11 to 15% of their revenue is coming from SMS marketing, whereas 30% is now coming from email marketing. So they're looking somewhere between 40 to 45% of their revenue is coming just from our channels. And that doesn't include what they're doing in Google ads and YouTube ads as well. So, and obviously in organic. So this is just a great example of, just using a combination of these two channels in order to produce more revenue for a store. So today we covered, email marketing, whether it's dead or not, how to reach more people, really how to build your list. I went over some of the platforms, PostScript and Klaviyo. I mentioned a few others. Really, what you're going to want to analyze, really think through is, what what you want your user experience to be, and make sure that the providers out there that you're going to choose can do that, can match that up. You may want to see if, like, for example, what we did with African Fly, we have Klaviyo as the email service provider, but we have PostScript as the SMS provider, but they have an integration. So you may want to take an integration into account as well. Definitely compliance is super important. We went over the types of messages that we send, whether they're broadcast messages or campaigns and automations. And really just like the top things that you should do right now in order to really take advantage of SMS marketing. Like right now is the time to, at the very least, collect phone numbers. You don't really lose anything. Measure the conversion rate on your pop-up, and then once you're running everything, as I said earlier, you're going to want to run some campaigns, let people know that that channel is available, make them an offer to actually join that channel, put it on social media. Believe me, folks, you're not going to regret it. If you need help with any of this stuff, please feel free to give us a call or set an appointment on our calendar. Either myself or one of our staff will get back to you. Our number, as you see it on the screen, 855-463-3454, or go to cal.weclickgroup.com. Thank you, and I hope the SMS works out for you great.